Hey, this is George Lynch, and you are watching Guitar Autopsy.
So George, thank you very much for taking the time to come on the show today, man. How are you doing today, sir?
Well, yeah, it was kind of a big problem for me because I was really busy, like pulling weeds in my backyard and reading my emails for the 12th time, hoping, waiting for another one to come in.
Right, I hear you, man. I hear you.
Yeah, so
I
I
got you.
appreciate the opportunity to talk guitar and whatever else we're going to talk about today. But I know it's just going to be a casual conversation.
Sure. Yep. Yeah,
And,
just wherever the conversation goes, man, let's take it.
we'll probably start with guitars, though, right?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
So the MP1, you're a big fan of that? Somewhat?
Well, I'd forgotten that it was a big part of my arsenal, and back I would have to say early '90s. Was that the era for the MP1?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. Late
Yeah,
80s, early 90s,
yeah.
for
So
sure.
then I started seeing some old rack pictures, and I saw it in there, and I went, "Well, what did I use that for? Clean or dirty or what?" I didn't remember. And then so then I started thinking, oh, I should build an '80s rack just as an experiment for fun, and I started talking to people about it, and including yourself. And I don't know why somebody mentioned to me that you had, like, you use them or something. So and so I think I hit you up, and I say, hey, you got, I'm thinking I'll buy one, and you were sweet enough to send me one, which was really amazing. And I'm like, wow, cool. And other friends and people I know in the guitar world sort of, like, started donating stuff. So say, hey man, I've got this. And it's always like in their garage or in their storage unit. They're not using, it's collecting dust. They haven't even turned it on in, 2 decades, but so I now have this whole rack that's just full of donated stuff. I didn't buy anything. I mean, I would have bought it, but people, literally one guy just came over my studio and dropped a couple pieces off, and it was just like really sweet. So
And
it's
that would be
real.
Zach's dad that gave you the MP1.
Oh,
That's
Yeah, that
yeah.
would be
oh,
my
that's right.
my
That's
dad.
right.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, it came, it still had the same chords from the '80s with the labels on them and everything. It was just like a little bit of blast from the past. Um, so I've got everything in the rack, and it's really kind of a community experiment, that I'm gonna, hopefully have all put together here pretty soon, and I'll put it out on Patreon or Instagram, and just kind of follow up a little bit, talk about it, because it's just a super fun project, and it makes you play different because you know these days I don't use stuff like that. I use, I've really scaled back my processing and my gain, so it's plexis and old gear, vintage gear, wonderful. But it's funny because I haven't played in anything like this that had this much gain and processing, in a long time, and it made me play closer to how I used to play.
Right.
So it shows how much that the gear dictates your style, um, because you're just not going to play slow hand bluesy, and maybe more tastefully, if that's the right word, playing through this rack stuff. You're gonna play more exciting, shreddy, flamboyantly. It's easier to play, obviously. So you're kind of doing stuff that's sort of like, wow, I forgot that I could kind of play like this. It was really cool, and it made me rethink everything. I was just like, maybe this should be part of what I do. I bet a lot of people would like that.
Well, it was kind of a funny story because Rusty hit me up after you messaged him, and he was like George is asking me for one of these things, and I was like, and I read it, and I was like, God, why do I know that so well? Like, I feel like it was like in my head. And then I texted my dad. I was like, you have one of these, don't you? And he goes, hell yeah, dude, I got everything for that. And he
Yeah.
hasn't used it in like 10 years. he
But
just
the funny thing is, Zach didn't even know what it was called. I told him it was an 88 MP1. And he went back to his dad and he called it something else. Like,
I call it like an MPK or some shit. I was
yeah,
like,
his
what
dad
the
was
hell
like,
is
"What
it?
do you?" Yeah, he's, you know.
But
Well,
So,
but I knew I had seen it my whole life in his, because he had a huge rack of just everything, and I was like, and I Googled it, and I was like, oh my god, I know exactly what that is, and I called my dad, and I was like, hey, George Lynch is looking for one of these, and he's like, give it to him, and I was like, well, he said he'd buy it. He goes, I don't give a fuck. Tell him he can have it, and I was like, okay, calm down.
well, when I do the demo thing and everything, I got to give everybody, shout outs for that contributed, so
Oh, for
including your
sure.
father, obviously. So I'll have to hit you back and make sure I get
Absolutely.
his name right and everything, because I want to do that, because I know that it means a lot to me that everybody did this. So I want to make this happen. I've got somebody donated a Furman. I'm looking at the rack right now. Furman PQ3. Remember those?
Yep.
No,
I mean, that's
That's
was
the parametric EQ, right?
correct.
Right.
It was
Yeah.
the PQ3, and then there was the PQ6, the stereo version.
Mhm.
And Warren used that religiously. Jakey used that religiously. It was a SoCal thing,
Yeah.
I used it as well, and we would put them right in front of our Marshalls,
Yeah.
And
That's
then
super cool, man.
I got the Quadbird BBE Sonic Maximizer.
Yep. I remember those.
Don't know how much if I'll end up using that.
Yeah.
And then the delay, I'm a little like still undecided. The Korg 1500 was one I used back then. You familiar with that one?
I'm not sure. Is that a
And
rack delay or pedal?
It's a rack. Everything's rack. Yeah.
Okay.
And kind of low bit technology compared to now, but really has a lot of cool character, almost like legacy digital stuff is cool again in depending on the piece. But it's like Daniel Lanois. I don't know if you know who he is. Producer for he produced Joshua Tree, U2's record Joshua Tree, among other U2 records, and Emmylou Harris record. I mean, he's a monster. He's like the Jimi Hendrix of producers. He's unbelievable talent. 10-string pedal steel slide, plays guitar insane. He gets these lush, crazy sounds that are just unbelievable. So, and that's his delay of choice is the Korg 1500. And so guys that are kind of hip to that have driven the price up. So now they're, they used to be like dirt cheap. Now they're a couple grand. So there's that. There's the Roland Sd 3000s, which I have a couple of those. That either one of those would work. Those are both pretty great 80s machines, but you got to have the delay in there. Those it just doesn't work.
Yeah. You got
So
any
anyway.
chorus? Did you get any chorus going on?
The chorus I used to get what I believe was a Boss CE, whatever the first CE pedals were. I guess maybe C1.
Yeah. Yeah. That wasn't it a blue pedal?
Yes, yeah. C2 I think was the one I used for pretty much for the most part. And they were dirty, but they did a cool organic thing. They were a little messy. It wasn't a pristine chorus, like nowadays where you get this stuff.
With all that high-end digital stuff and everything going through loops nowadays and stuff, it just cleans it up big time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know if I relied on chorus tuning.
Did you ever use a delay in front of your amp, a delay pedal?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I could never get a good sound out of that.
Yeah, it was always tricky. What I did use off and on for decades was my Echoplexes. And that's kind of a double-edged sword because they can, if you, depending on the Echoplex, can do a preamp thing, obviously, that's really cool. Even without using the echo, just by the just the circuit itself does a thing when you plug into it and then plug it into your Marshall. But then again, it's very dependent on which Echoplex. So EP1, 2, 3, or 4. 4s, don't waste your time. 3s, there's 2 versions. The earlier version, and I know I have it written down, the serial number sequence that you look for, and it's the first year or something that they made the EP3s up to a certain serial number, was a certain version that sounds darker than the later version, than the later version. and are more desirable. And I have one of those. And then there's the EP2 and 3s, which are tube. And I prefer the EP1, which is the smaller square box. It doesn't have as many controls, doesn't have sound on sound, which you never use anyways. And there's one other knob that it doesn't have, but it sounds better because Jeff Pilson has an EP1. I have an EP2, and I always use his EP1. It preamps better, and the echo sounds a little better. And those are tube, and they're noisy as hell, and they're a lot of maintenance. And I actually had them built into ammo boxes with rope handles, and I'd put them right on the front of the stage because I was so proud of them. I wanted everybody to see them, and I could go down and change the settings right there, where my pedal board was. And I loved it. But now that, we all do flight dates, there's no way I can bring 2 Echoplexes on the plane.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw you sometime in 2000s, early 2000s, where you had one of those ammo boxes on stage, and I was like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah. Cool as hell.
Yeah. So I don't know a lot about the Echoplexes simply because they're not that readily available. You know what I mean? Are all of them, not commercially where you walk into a store and check them out, that kind of thing. Are they all tape?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so they're all tape.
Yeah, so if you get a Benson Echo-Let, I think they're called, the German machines. Those are disc. And then there's the Telrays, which different companies put out, like Morley and Fender back in the 60s, I believe. And those are oil can delays. And those do a different thing. And those are a trip. It's very hard to find ones that work properly. And when you do, you got to be careful, because if you ever repair them, the oil is a carcinogen. And so they're dangerous. They're actually illegal. That's why they'd stop making them, because they cause cancer. But they sound good, until the cancer kicks in. It sounds really good. Right? They just should have called them cancer echoes.
Oh man, the cancer.
But they're just phenomenal. But they do a whole different thing. It's like 60s space. Then there's the space echoes, which are tape, but sound way different than the Echoplexes.
Is that like a Roland Space Echo?
Yeah, Roland Space Echoes is a great thing too, and a lot of guys use those in recording with other kinds of music, not necessarily rock music, when they're doing mixing and DJs and trance and dub and whatever else. They're great machines. But in a perfect world, we'd have all of these things. I'd have a WEM copycat as well.
Sure.
I mean, they're all great in their own way. A lot of maintenance.
Yeah, I'd never heard of the oil can, or what did you call it? What was it? Oil?
Yeah,
can?
it's a company's called Telray.
Yeah.
And so what happened was this company developed and designed this product, and they patented it. And then the salesman that was responsible for kind of selling the license to a company was very unscrupulous. And so what he did was, they found out he sold the same rights to 5 different companies at the same time. Wow. Exclusive rights to 5 companies at the same time, so we can get paid 5 times.
Right.
And so Fender and Morley and 3 other companies put out these Telray, but they branded it with their brand, but Telray delays, echo delays, all consecutively at the same time, or concurrent, consecutively.
Yeah.
And they were like, who do we sue? We got to sue each other. And they were, and finally they all realized this guy hoodwinked us,
Right. Yeah.
It's really kind of amazing story. The owner, Morley, was telling me this a couple of years ago, which even makes it more fascinating. And I want to get, I don't have one. I had one, and it was, it broke on me, and I couldn't find anybody to fix it. So it's on my list. If your dad has one, maybe you could send it to me.
I'll have to ask him.
Yeah, what else has he got in the garage, dude? Come on.
Right.
He's got so much stuff. It's stupid.
Yeah, dude. I want to see the list of what your dad has too now. I'm curious.
Well, now I'll text him up and be like, okay. Well, see, it's funny because right when I told him, obviously he was like, dude, just send it to him. No questions asked. And I was like, okay, cool. And, but the reason why I think these guys want to send you this stuff is because you got to think, man, like the years and years that you've put into creating music and lessons for people and just creating all of this stuff, you know, you've, at least from what my dad had said about it too, was, you know, you've helped him develop his whole playing style and everything as well. So it was the least he could do to thank you for all of that. So
Yeah, I get it. You know, I mean, we all get that, you know, and it's you know, it's beautiful, and I feel a little guilty about that because I like I'm the last guy that needs to be getting free shit when there's guys out there that really need gear, and you know, I can afford to pay for gear. You know, I'm not a you know, I'm not a billionaire, but I've got enough money to, you know, and I feel I should pay for stuff. So like, I feel bad sometimes. Like the other, you know, it's the same with like the amount of gear I have. That's like sometimes I think it's obscene and kind of wrong. You know, I mean, I'm staring at this wall right here. You know, just like every wall and every room of my studio is just, you know, and that's just this room, you know, and all my house and everything. It's like, I don't need these guitars, you know. Oops. You know, and then amps. I mean, I just got walls of amps, and I got them all in storage, and you know, it's just like I never plug into them. You know, and I feel like I'm starting to think maybe to go to the opposite direction and just go totally minimalist. Just like, you know, Hendrix had kind of one primary guitar when he first started. That was Jimi Hendrix. You know, they didn't start getting more guitars till later in their careers, but every major cat, you know, the Four Horsemen, the main guys in the late 60s, and they had kind of like one guitar. You know, you know, I mean, just name a guy, Rory Gallagher, you know. I'm sure he had others eventually, but initially,
everybody's always got their main one. Yeah.
I don't have a cool backdrop with you guys. How'd you get that to look like that? That purple backlit thing.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass.
It's not too bad.
Yeah, no, I mean it's not too bad. I'm
like,
from me and Zach. It's I got these two different floor lights, and Zach's kind of got the same thing. I don't know if can you grab one of yours or no?
Yeah, maybe see how far I can go. Yeah, so basically they're lights. Well, they're kind of stuck here. They're lights like this that you can change the color, and then they just kind of push light up.
Kind of looks like one of these kind of guys.
So,
you know what I mean? I don't want to like blind you.
Yeah, but they're not colored.
Oh well, yeah, they are. I can sit here with this control that came with it, and I can change them to all different colors. So I've got one on each side of my room on the floor, and I can change the colors. I can change the brightness, you know, and you can change the angle that you want it at, and
so you guys just have like normal rooms, but you're making them look like spaceships.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Dude,
and like,
cool.
So I've got these kind of lights here that, you know, really bright with different like yellows and white colors that you can have, and I set those off to the side. And I'm using an actual DSLR camera, which is like, you know, just like the real big cameras that you see people use, and I'm using that to stream. So it has HD quality.
Yeah, and then I've got like on this side of me, I've got one of those ring lights. I don't know if you know what that is.
Yeah.
And then I've got like an umbrella light up there, and I use the umbrella light to get like non-direct light, you know. So this one over here is just kind of more of my face light, and two lights on the floor for just ambience in the background. And I'm on a Mac right now, and I'm just using the camera that's built into the Mac. Before I got this computer, I had the DSLR camera too, kind of like what Zach has. The camera that came built into my Mac was just good enough that, you know, I don't really need to use it. I mean, a lot of times I'll have three cameras going. I'll have the DSLR and then the Mac camera, and then I got a webcam left over, and I'll use like the DSLR for my left hand, just to be only on my left hand, and then the other one, the webcam mic, I'll use for my right hand. So I can switch between any of the three cameras at any time to just show left hand or right hand picking or whatever.
So do you teach at?
Yes.
You give lessons. Okay.
Yeah, I do. I do a lot of Skype and Zoom stuff, and
I just did this thing not too long ago with it was a Paul Gilbert guitar escape thing, and it's, you know, all these super great guys. You know, it was super wonderful to just be, you know, in that group, but. Sure. You know, talking to everybody, I noticed that a lot of people are doing that. I didn't realize that. I never really thought about it too much, but you know, people have asked me now and then if I would do that, and I don't. Yeah. But it's kind of a thing you can do, I guess, right?
Absolutely, for sure. I was,
especially while we're kind of down, you know, with COVID and everything. It's kind of
yeah,
like,
my teaching actually picked up since COVID started because everybody's at home. You know,
which is,
everybody's at
and I
home. They
think
have
that's
extra time to play and stuff.
really good for a guitar player, because like if you're not gigging as much and you're not recording constantly, then when are you playing guitar? So lessons are good for you, you know, for us, for me. I mean,
Yes, yeah,
the best
absolutely.
I ever played in my life is when I taught. You know, like I taught at Musonia for like, I don't know, you know, 6 months or a year or something.
Yeah, that's
My
super cool.
playing was like great, you know, because I was sitting there in the saddle fucking every day or 5 days a week or whatever, you know, for hours and hours. Just
For sure.
you
Yeah,
know,
and you get, you know, you want to be on your toes. Last thing I ever want is a student to come to me and I don't know the answer to the question. You know.
oh, I'll tell you what, dude, I have this new record coming out. It's an instrumental record,
Cool.
which is probably why we're doing this interview, but I just realized. But I had the young guitar crew here in my studio, and they were like, we want you to dissect the songs, you know, a couple songs. And I'm like, I sat down, I had no idea. No fucking idea.
So how did you end up pulling it off?
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't.
I failed. I failed. And I just said, listen, I never want to be that guy that says no or fails, and I want to make everybody happy. But I wrote this stuff like 2 years ago and recorded it like 2 years ago and instrumentalized it like at least a year and a half ago or something. I don't know. COVID time. I can't even remember, but you know, I've done other records since then, and and when I write, I just make up shit. So, and then if I don't have a band that actually goes rehearses it and tours it or something, I have no reason to go back and revisit or learn it.
Right.
Yeah. So that's like way in my rearview mirror. And a lot of this stuff is goofy, you know. It's like maybe sometimes I'll just randomly detune, you know, the guitar just by ear. I don't even know what I'm tuning to, and I'll play something that sounds weird, or you know, I don't even know how I played these parts, you know, what part of the neck I'm in or anything. I couldn't figure it out. And I was really, I felt terrible because I came all the way out here and they're here and it's a big deal and they want to put me in the magazine and everything.
That's awesome.
They ended up doing a gear kind of thing instead to replace it, which I felt terrible about. But
Well, I mean, that's kind of the George Lynch charm, though, is like that's what a lot of people when they talk about. No, no, where it's, you know, everything that you do is by, you know, it's by ear, it's by, you know, just intuition of the instrument, I think, you know. And I talk about that a lot when people come in, and you know, I obviously teach theory and stuff like that. Rusty teaches theory and stuff, but sometimes you have to lay back and say, you know, just write something that sounds good and not worry so much about it. And I think that's where what you do speaks to so many guitar players, you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it's definitely a double-edged sword because it's very limiting to not know. You know, there's nothing wrong with knowing, because you can, you know, for me, it's stressful and exhilarating at the same time. So the idea of music creation and performance, improvisational performance is like a mystery. You know, it's like the wilderness of the mind. You know, it's like I don't know what's going to be around this corner. I don't know what's going to happen today because I have no guideposts. You know, I don't know scales per se. I mean, I probably do in a way, in a roundabout way, but just intervallically, I know that, you know, it's just math, but I sort of have a way of looking at it, but I don't have any way of communicating that and even explaining it to myself. So it's hard for me to recreate stuff. Impossible, really. So when I get out on stage, you know, it's like, I never play any solo the same twice, as opposed to Michael Schenker or Warren DeMartini, and I've toured with these guys and I've sat down with them and I was like, they never play anything different ever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Schenker plays the same exact notes from beginning to end every night.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That is freaking insane. And I'm so jealous. I'm like, how the hell? And I've asked people in his band, you know, and I've toured with him and they're like, no, he just sits there and he figures everything out and he never deviates from it.
That's crazy.
That is fascinating to me. give anything to be able to do that, because to me, it would seem like it would be so much less stressful and also more rewarding for the audience, because they're going to see something consistent. They're going to hear the record. They want to hear that solo. I go play with Dokken. We do a lot of shows together now where my band opens up and then I go out and play at the end of the night. And John, his guitar player, leaves and I go out and I do 3 or 4 songs, and it's a kumbaya moment. Everybody loves it and it's great. But I can't play those, or I guess I could, but I don't play anything note for note. I kind of do, but John does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I think there's the pros and cons of both sides of it. I mean, obviously, if it's something in a song that's like a thematic thing, then I think it's important to try to recreate that. But if it's a solo where you're just going for it, I mean, like I personally don't play the solos the same way every night. I mean, I have certain licks that are like the guide licks that are in the solo, and then I just kind of improvise in between it, and I have my marks that I need to hit.
You're like your guidepost, yeah.
Yeah, and it's
cool.
funny because when my old band Outworld, when we recorded our first album, it was such a long period in between the time when I recorded my solos to the time it went, when it came time to perform the stuff, that I actually had to go back and borrow a friend of mine's Tascam Porta-Trainer thingy that they used to have in guitar magazines back 10, 15 years ago, and slow my stuff down and figure it out, because I'd improvised a lot of the stuff and it was stuff that needed to be recreated, theme stuff and like that. And it would have been the perfect advertisement for Tascam. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're making my head explode just talking about it. Ouch.
And then I had to, even on one of the solos, I had to have the guy at the studio send me the solo naked without any other distractions, so I could just hear the notes only without the band and slow that down. And I still didn't even nail it perfect, but it was pretty close, But so, I mean, I know that feeling. It's like, I try to learn from my mistakes in many respects. And I feel like a lot of times when I'm doing demos for songs, the demo solos end up being better than the album solos because they were just off the cuff. And then it's like, okay, now I got to try to recreate that for the album, and it never translates.
Well, when you're playing it, you're playing at a very high level. So what you're replacing, the stuff that you're maybe not playing accurately, is still phenomenally, ridiculously sick. So it's not like you're fumble fingering, some pentatonic slop.
Right. Well, I mean, but I know the difference. You know what I mean? That's,
Yeah. Well, but, I just was reading about Alan Holdsworth doing the Bruford sessions, and Bruford was talking about how much Alan Holdsworth hated everything he played on those records. Yeah. It was such a incredibly self-critical person. It was like beyond belief. And then you listen to that record and you go,
"Oh man,
what the fuck are you talking about?"
Exactly.
Just shut up. Go ride your bicycle. Drink a beer. You're insane.
Exactly.
You did it. You did it. You're fine.
Yeah. I mean, I heard stories about him where he would apologize in the middle of his set for his playing.
Dude, I once saw him at the Baked Potato with some friends, and he was, he was Alan. He was fucking ridiculous, and it was Jeff Berlin, and who else, and whatever it was, but gnarly, and everybody in the crowd was a fucking musician.
Yeah,
it was just blew everybody's minds, and so he's done, and so we're sitting out in the back, we're behind the back door there in the parking lot, and he comes out and he starts loading this beat up freaking minivan with a rag for a gas cap and a broken windshield and mufflers dragging on the ground. And I'm like, and he's all by himself, didn't have a tech or anything. I'm like, really? So we help him load up and everything. And we're like, God, I love you. I love you. You're fucking unbelievable. You don't understand. I mean, I had the first record, the Tempest record. I was in a garage band, listening to that Tempest, like, who the fuck is this animal from this demon? What the fuck is this? It's just this whole new thing. And so he's like, just, he's super shy and humble and soft spoken. I'm just like, wow. And so he goes to leave and his band doesn't start. And I don't know if you know the Baked Potato, but it's on Barham. It's on that hill. And so we had to push it. So we pushed his van out and onto the street, and it's a stick. So he goes, just if you can get me going point me down the hill, give me, and we're all like, it was only Loken and some other guitar players. We're all like, pushing Alan Holdsworth van. And he's like, he pops the clutch and poof, 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 blows a bunch of smoke on us. And he heads off like Scooby-Doo waves and pulls onto the 101 south on ramp right there by the gas station and like waved. And that was the last time I ever saw him.
Wow, that's a great story, man.
Really sad,
too.
Sad.
It is for real. You know what I mean? I was fortunate enough to meet him one time, and it was I think it was the same year that he passed away. It was at NAMM, and I was doing a signing at Morley, and we had just finished, and I think Nilly Broche's brother ran by and he said, dude, Alan Holdsworth's down there signing it at this booth. I forgot what was some gear he has an endorsement with. I was like, took off running, right? And I was just kind of hanging out because I was trying to hopefully get a chance to meet him after everybody had left. And this lady was there and she goes, if you want to meet Alan, you need to get in line because when he's done, he'll just leave no matter how many people are here. Right. And so I went up and I got my pictures with him and had him sign his little card for the company. And it was cool because I look back at the photos now and I'm standing next to him just looking up at him like he's God, you know what I mean? Just the look on my face looking at him and stuff. Yeah. And we took this one picture and I was going like this, trying to be cool, and he starts doing it and he's pointing at me and stuff, and it's like, it was very cool.
And that it's funny when we meet our heroes, it's like we're like those guys, we're like the fans of ours that come up to us, that we kind of like, people come up to you and they're like, oh, you're so great. And like, what are you supposed to say? I mean, thank you. It makes you feel uncomfortable and weird because, in our heads, we're just guys, like we've always been, just, we're just doing what we do. And it's not like, it's just what we do, whatever. But for them, I get it, because to them, it's like us meeting Holdsworth or Jeff Beck or,
sure,
and I met Beck twice, and
that's cool.
And one time we played the Crossroads, that blues.
Yeah, in Dallas. Was it in Dallas?
It was Dallas or Houston. I can't remember. It was a long time ago.
Dallas. I went to the first one. I was actually with
Cotton Bowl.
Yeah. I actually played inside at a booth at that thing.
Yeah, that's the one. And at the end, the storm shut it down. Mm-hmm. Right, and it was Billy Gibbons and Jeff Beck and Eric Clapton, I think. And they played like 2 songs. Yeah. Because we've ended as lovers and one other thing, and then they shut it down. Yeah. But I was driving. Me and my wife were in one of the shuttle vans, and then there's the production trailers, and Jeff Beck was walking into a production trailer. I was like, I'm never gonna get this chance again. I don't want to be that guy. I get it, but I got that guy. Yeah. So she went up to him and she says, well, my husband, really admires you and grew up with your music and meant a lot to him and everything, and that he was too shy to come up to you, so he'd like to say, can he say hi or something like that? And I was like, don't. Just come here, and he was super sweet. And dude, I literally teared up. It was like, and I didn't know what to say. And then afterwards, I was like, fuck, there's all this shit I should have said. I was kicking myself, like really rolling in my sleep. I was like, God, I'm an idiot. Yeah. I said some stupid shit. I was nervous or whatever. But
well, I have one of my students really well, Sam Fisher.
Oh yeah.
And Sam is one of my students. I meet with him every well, it was Thursdays, now it's every Monday. And that's all we learn is Dokken and Lynch Mob, and that's it. That's all he wants to learn, and I love it. And
can I take lessons from you?
Please do. That would be amazing.
I need to learn how to play the Wicked Sensation solo better.
Well, I got something here that he left for the show, if I can.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Sam. I've known Sam for years and years. What? Oh, you got the Snake Hunter.
Yep, it's Sam's guitar. He left it because he went out of town, and he's like, I don't know when you're going to do this interview, but just keep my guitar until you get on there and show it to him. Sam is like the sweetest guy in the world, dude.
Yeah.
He's just so.
Well, he's Canadian.
Yeah.
But I believe he's Canadian. Canadians are just that way.
I don't know if he's Canadian, but he's just so passionate about, if he likes something, that's what he's going to focus on. And I appreciated that ever since day one. Even in my phone, his name is Sam Lynch, so I know exactly which Sam is texting me, and I know it's him. So, but this is the guitar, right? And I don't think Rusty's seen this.
I haven't. No, that's the first time to see it.
Do you want to talk a little bit about it, George? Like, do you remember how all this went down?
Oh, believe me, when you do something like that, you don't forget it.
Right. Yeah. It's beautiful, dude.
I haven't made one in a few years. I upped the price dramatically on them because honestly, I was just like, if I'm going to do this kind of work, I'm not looking forward to it. It's a fucking huge pain in the ass.
Yeah. Wow. That's cool.
So
that's snakeskin in there.
I raised the price to $9,000. I raised the price to $2,000. I'm literally sitting there with a magnifying glass headset with these high intensity lamps on my workbench with an X-Acto knife in one hand, fucking super glue, and just reams of fucking, rattlesnake hide. Yeah. And I've got to match all those carvings. I'm making 100 mistakes. I'm having to fix. Oh, and I've got glue on my hands for 2 weeks, and I can't, a lot of things you can't do when you got super glue and your hands are glued together. And you're like a monster boy,
Yeah.
Trying to play guitar, it's crazy. So I really dread doing them, but but when they're done, it's insane. It's like, oh, I did that.
Yeah.
Because I'm not really a trained luthier or anything. I've been just teaching myself to do stuff. So
sure. Zach, hold that up. I didn't realize that when you first showed it that that's actually snakeskin in there.
Yeah,
the lighting's not catching
it's real high.
I'm trying to get this light to move a little bit.
Absolutely.
So basically, from what I understand,
cool,
it actually has a rattlesnake head in it right here.
Yeah.
Right. And then the tail right here.
So that's a real rattlesnake head.
Yeah, and those are badger toe bones. Those are badger toe bones and the perimeter of the toe.
Okay.
Yeah. And then in these are, they're cut out. You can see it's dipped in really here. And that's real snake skin inside of the cutouts.
So how do you do the cutouts? Is that like a special tool? Is it a router, a Dremel?
1/2-inch router bit with just forget which brand I use, but I got a couple, but they're just hand routers with a 1/2-inch bit and a guard.
I'm going to take a photo of this.
I have my pattern. I trace my pattern out. I've since now made a template, so I don't have to trace it out every single time.
Right.
So I can repeat the pattern, but I sometimes change up a little bit, so they're all a little bit different, but generally the pattern's the same. And then I just pencil that pattern in. I have to be very careful that I, do a checkerboard thing where like the depression part of the pattern, the canyons on the topography of the surface of the guitar is highlighted. So because I made a mistake one time and I missed one of the cutouts, and then I got the opposite. I was on the opposite cutout. So when it all came up back to the back, it didn't match.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was a nightmare, dude. I had to I forget how I fixed it, but I don't think I probably had to start over. But so now I shade in the part that I'm actually cutting, and then I use my just a hand router, not a plunge router, but just like a hand router, and then with a 1/4-inch bit.
Right.
Or no, 1/4-inch bit. And then I go, once I've got all that that's the heavy lifting, I get most of the wood out that way. Then I go to a Dremel, and then I go to just like aluminum oxide sandpaper, like furniture sandpaper. And I just do, 150 grit. Then I go to whatever, 250 or 300. And I just keep doing that until my fingers are fucking raw and I got calluses on them and my fingers are cramped. It's hard to play guitar after I do that. It's a lot of work. But it's beautiful because I just get it to where those edges are it's all like driftwood, There's no hard edges, and it's just and the beauty thing about the process I use to do all this is that, I do make mistakes. So, but because they're so rustic and so forgiving, I can just sand through the mistakes.
Yeah.
So if I have like sometimes I'll have the bit and the bit will just blow out a chunk of wood in the carving, and when they start to get dull, they tend to do that, and I get lazy and I don't change it out as much as I should.
Right.
And so, it starts getting this carbon buildup, and all of a sudden the bit grabs a piece of the wood. I hit a certain part of the grain, and it takes a chunk out of the guitar. A little chunk, but still, it's a big deal. For a $7,000 guitar. So I can just sand my way out of the problem. I incorporate that as a feature of the design of the routing.
And that's why they're one of a kind guitars, man. They're really
Yeah.
piece
They're
of
one of a
art.
kind because different mistakes happen in every different guitar.
The other thing I just noticed that I didn't even know about was on the back brass here where it's holding the claw. It even says "Made for Sam" by Mr. Scary Guitars. That's amazing.
Oh,
Like,
I forgot about that.
yeah, it says "Made for Sam," and
Wow.
and then "Made in Lynchtopia," which is funny. And this is number
That's awesome.
68, 0068.
Which doesn't mean anything. It's not sequential. I just pick random numbers.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's cool.
I don't make that many guitars. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, dude. But anyway, it's a friggin' beautiful guitar, and he brings it often. And we've done some setups on it, restrung it, and everything. And my guitar tech's a huge fan of yours as well, so it's really kind of cool to just get to see it often and play it. And yeah, great job on it.
Yeah, he's brought it to at least one show where he's just kind of. What I tell Sam is, I go, hey, just this will be kind of cool theater. Just be in the front row and then just hand it to me.
Oh,
There you
yeah.
go. Yeah.
And I just grab it and I'll play Mr. Scary or whatever I play.
Yeah.
Here's the thing I love
Sick,
about
man.
Sam is, although he's a huge fan of yours and he has been since high school, he's told me hundreds of stories about, drinking beer out in the parking lot of school, listening to Dokken and all this stuff. But
At school, drinking beer in the parking lot.
yeah, he doesn't care. But when he texts me sometimes, he just came to your show last weekend and he texted me when he was there, and you texted him and said, "Oh, Sam, I think I saw you in the audience." And I asked him, I said, "Did you go up to him and like talk to him a little bit?" And he goes, "No, I don't want to bother him." And I'm just like, man, I mean, he's texting you. I mean, not that he I guess what I should say is he just doesn't want to overstep his boundary with anybody or make him feel weird. And that's why he's such a great guy. He just wants to appreciate and if you give him a shout out, he's just happy with it. And I love that.
Well, we're giving him a lot of shout outs right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Calm down, Sam.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the Vegas show?
I can't remember what show it was. Hang on. Let me.
It might have been Virginia before. Was the weekend before, but last weekend was Vegas, which I don't remember if I saw him. I'm just forgetting right now.
Let me look at his phone. He sent me the text about it too.
And the other thing with COVID and touring right now, it's so kind of up in the air. There's a lot of uncertainty, and we really got to be careful with having people backstage. I mean, it's just something you can't do right now. There's no VIP signings anymore. There's no handshaking. There's no meet and greets. I mean, you just can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little weird, you know what I mean?
He said it was with Lita Ford and Dokken, so I don't know.
That wasn't Vegas. That was
okay. It must have been 2 weeks ago then or something.
Yeah, someplace else. Can't remember exactly.
And then he sent me a screenshot of just you saying, "Hey Sam, I thought I saw you out there."
No, that's right. That's right. I mean, which is crazy because I'm usually just staring at my shoes and sort of not even aware of my surroundings. I'm just sort of focused or whatever, trance or whatever you call it.
Right. Yeah.
But for a second, I think I did, because somebody gave me a little talking to about that. They said, "Listen, man, you're George Lynch. You got to be out there, make some eye contact with the crowd. I mean, yeah, you want to play good and all that, but you got to go out there and be entertaining. You just don't want to stare at your shoes." So I've been making an attempt to do that. Sort of, I have it written on my set list. Look at the crowd, smile.
Right.
So I've been doing that, and so I did that. I looked up and I saw Sam. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. You have to write a note right there on the end of your shoe as you're staring at him. Eye contact.
Or my bandmates' foreheads, but backwards.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. Hey, Zach, I think you had a question for George that you mentioned that you wanted to ask him.
Oh, yeah. So I was watching this show on VH1 a while ago. Like, it was like a rerun that came on. And they had talked about some of like the most metal moments that had ever happened. And one of them was you on a volcano. And they didn't really go into like asking about that much, but I was curious about how that all came about and what happened afterwards with it. I don't know if you remember a whole lot about that or not.
Oh yeah, no, I do. It was Dokken. Dokken was playing NBC Theater in Honolulu. That's the main island, I guess. Or Oahu. And then Honolulu. And then we had a video crew there. and we were filming, around the same time while we're in Hawaii. The idea was to film the concert for some of the cutaway footage, and then also do a feature with me on a volcano, on the Big Island. So we rented like a small Cessna plane, the video crew, and we flew over to the Big Island and rented a vehicle and drove up to the national park, Mount Kilauea, whatever that it's called, and hiked up there. And unbeknownst to us, the volcano was becoming active, and we didn't know that because we were off where we were supposed to be. We had gone off the trail in an area where we weren't supposed to be, because they wanted to get this dramatic footage of me on the end of the cauldron, or whatever you call it,
Right.
the lip of the crater, kind of leaning back, with this sulfur steam and molten lava and everything, and they wanted to capture that, so we had to kind of cheat and get off off the beaten path. And we were there. Videos take a long time, so they're kind of the most part of the day, and the sun started to go down, and the last shot they wanted to capture was me walking across a lava field into the sunset holding my guitar, which is in the video. But I noticed that this crusty lava was kind of really hot underneath, and it was breaking through in some spots, and I could actually see molten lava, rivers of it, like,
Wow.
from my peripheral vision, and the heat was intense, and the sulfur was, fumes were kind of overpowering. And so, but it's like everything we got to do for the video. The video's got to be great. So, just go another couple of feet. Just
Oh man.
lean over the edge of that cliff a
Man.
little bit. And I did, because I'm, young and dumb, and I'm doing whatever I got to do. But so we got all these shots, and then we started back down, because it was actually almost, it was getting dark, and it was twilight, sunset, and needed to find our way down. And we started to come down the trail, and we ran into some park rangers, and they were like, "What the hell are you guys doing up here? We evacuated the park. Get the hell out of here. Things ready to blow."
Holy.
And so we kind of hoofed it down. They go, "Run." And so we ran,
Run.
jumped in our vehicles. And then we got to this little, airport thing, and we got in our Cessna and took off, and the thing blew.
Wow.
And that was dark, and just 14,000 feet in the air, eruption, whatever it is. And so the pilot just circled the eruption, and they had their big, cameras out, and they're filming outside the plane of just slowly rotating around this thing, just
Holy
at night.
cow, man.
They should have included that footage. I would love to get access to that footage, but
Yeah.
Wayne Isham was one of the video guys. I mean, they're
Yeah.
big famous guys now, but back then they were, I don't know if they were, I wouldn't even know how to get a hold of them, but
Yeah.
we dodged a bullet. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's a pretty intense story right there.
Yeah. Volcano God.
Yeah, man.
I love that though. That's like, that is the quintessential metal thing to do, is not care and go up to an active volcano and start
Yes,
shredding.
but my solo was so awesome that it made the volcano erupt.
Right,
There you
exactly.
That
go.
might have had something to do with it. Yeah. Even though I wasn't plugged into anything,
Yeah.
you couldn't hear it. I was
Doesn't
just
matter.
like,
Right.
but
That's all right. The
Yeah.
metal gods heard it. Yeah.
yeah, the power of the silent shred
That's it, man.
ruptured the surface beneath
Yeah.
the surface of the earth.
That's killer, man. mean, it's
But
not
if I
great.
would have died during that also would have been cool too.
Maybe.
I mean,
I don't know, man.
What a way to go out. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, if you're gonna die, I guess that would be the way.
That's a very metal way to go. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But what would have been even cooler is if, the hot ash, and let's say I hope you don't die, but if you did, then like it like encrusted you, and then it was just you with your guitar, and then
Oh.
you
kind
could,
of like Han Solo in Star Wars when he was
Yeah.
in that thing,
Well, actually, it's funny you mentioned that, because people have gone back there since then, and they've created this kind of out of volcanic rock and whatever, and they built this monument on the spot where I did that filming,
Yeah.
and so there is a statue of me.
Oh, that's cool, man.
oh really?
No, not really. I'm just making that up.
Yeah.
Like I told you, I lie a lot.
that's awesome.
I was gonna say, like, I'm trying to look that up. I'm not finding it anywhere.
Well, I should have told you I was lying. I should have let you keep looking it up. That would
Yeah,
have been funny.
right. Yeah.
Well,
In
now
fact,
they-
would have kept looking too.
Oh, I would have been on it.
Yeah, That's funny,
But
man.
dude, that is just such a cool story to tell, and because especially nowadays with like special effects and stuff like that, you can make it look like you're standing on a volcano, but you actually stood on a volcano. You know what I mean? Like that shit's what's really cool about it.
Back when men were men and played on tin.
That's right, man. That's right. For
like
sure, dude. That's a
But what we did in our era was, paled in comparison to our predecessors, which were the real men, the guys that were going up there. I mean, shit, like just crazy ass shit, just like fuck, because they didn't even know what rock and roll was. They were inventing it,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
At least we had some guideposts to go by, but
Right.
yeah,
that's all. It just historically, it's all crazy because every generation it changes, and
well, and plus all our guys are disappearing so quickly now. Dusty Hill the other day, and the drummer from Slipknot, and
Joey Jordison.
Yeah.
And all the icons. I mean, Tom Petty and David Bowie and
Neil Peart.
And
Yep.
God, it's just insane. It's just like, where's this? I mean, obviously, nobody lives forever, and in 100 years, everybody that's on the planet right now is going to be gone. But just like, I mean, that whole generation of iconic, musicians and talent and songwriters just melting away before our eyes. It's just like, well, what's going to come after that?
Yeah.
I wonder, just out of curiosity,
Dubstep.
Who knows? Because a lot of things that are happening and changing and where music's going, it's not necessarily the direction I would have thought it would. You know what I mean? It never. It's very unpredictable of what catches and what doesn't. And
yeah, I mean, unless you're a futurist like Kurzweil or somebody, and you can kind of tap into that because you've got a giant brain and a vision. You're a visionary, but it's pretty hard to anticipate what would be coming down the pike here. But my inclination is that there will be no distinction between the appreciator and the creator of art. We'll all be our own creators. We'll all be our own musician. I mean, because the interfaces will be kind of hidden, just like code, and so, binary code will be masked and remasked and proxied, and to the point where you'll have some kind of implants or sensors and anything you can think of, you can manifest it. So if I can think of a shred thing, some machine will play that. I don't need Rusty or George to play it anymore. So I can make my own thing.
And that's kind of, in a way, that's kind of happening with some of the companies that have these drum programs, and they got bass programs, and you can program, and and it gives you all these presets and patches that you can manipulate, and
Yep.
There's
close,
there's a musician that I recently discovered, and I thought it was a guitar player, and it wasn't. The guy's actually a drummer that programmed all the guitar stuff. And here I am going, man, this guitar player's killer, and it just blew my mind to figure out that he didn't even play guitar later, and then when he performs live, he has somebody learn his guitar stuff. And,
wow.
Well, yeah, and the one thing that I know that Rusty and I've talked about before was there's people that will write entire albums in Guitar Pro. They'll tab everything out, not touch a guitar. They'll export the Guitar Pro as a clean file and then amp it later, amp that whole thing, and then that's the whole album.
Right. So they're not actually even playing guitar on their album. Right. Yeah.
So where's the
right.
So where's that coming from? I mean, okay, you could tab something or notation something, but I can see that could trigger something, but what is it triggering?
Well, so essentially what it does is it plays back as a clean tone, right? Like a clean guitar tone in the software. And then they will export that as a WAV file or an MP3 file. And then they put it into that, and then they reamp that track of whatever it played.
Or play it through a plugin or on your DAW. And you can dial in the tone however you want.
So maybe what is the thing that you maybe couldn't emulate, and this is of course an age-old question, is the unique humanness of a particular voice.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it turns into, it's like, it's a song, I suppose, but how much of that was, the vibrato and the slides and all the stuff. Like it's you, it's who you are.
Yeah.
I mean, could you do Jeff Beck? No.
It would sound like crap. It would, because even in Guitar Pro, when you hear the bend that they come up with, it's horrible sounding. It's very digital and weird and
it's
organic.
Unhuman, you know what I mean?
Unorganic.
Oh.
And that's interesting because it's like, me and Zach were talking about this one time, and Zach's like, he goes, when I listen to your instrumental album, he goes, I know that's you playing. He said it's very organic, and you could just tell that it's real. Whereas a lot of times with some of the newer generation, there's some guys that aren't really playing their stuff. And
well, I mean, back in the day, we would cheat. I mean, everybody cheated. Singers slowed down the tape so that they could sing at a lower pitch and then play it back. It was higher, and they sounded younger, and the voices was higher because it was cool to sing higher back then.
Sure, yeah.
And guitar players, I didn't, and I'm not, but I know that you could. I mean, I did do some cheating. I mean, I did punching in, and
sure,
I think everybody did that, but
yeah,
but you couldn't do what you could do now, which is now it's like a lot easier. You could just you want to play backwards, flip the wave file. You want to fucking, I mean, you can cut anything up. I mean, and edit anything any way you want. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And then
in seconds too.
I just did a session yesterday, and it's like, and the engineer's like, okay, we'll play a bunch of stuff, and I can just kind of put something together. I go, no, because you're that's not going to have any flow. I mean, you want the stream of consciousness. I mean, that's what you're kind of paying for, is
right.
And the flaws. I mean, you don't want it perfect. I mean, the things I love about stuff that I grew up with was all the little idiosyncrasies and the goofy things. That's what me and my friends would go, oh, what is that? Oh, it's like he broke a string, or he's out of tune, or it's like he played, rubbed into. I was like, I love that.
Yeah.
It's so human,
Yeah, and it's interesting too if you are lucky enough to find a guitar tab that actually transcribes somebody's playing accurately, and the mistakes are in the tab, and then you go and play, and you're like, what? That's not right. He didn't play that. And then you go back and listen to it, and it's like, oh, that
you
is
can't
in there.
have a mistake.
Yeah.
I mean, and you don't want. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I don't want a mistake laden.
Right.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about little, and it might not even be mistakes. I don't know what the word is for it.
Sure.
But,
those little nuances that happen in the moment.
Yeah, I don't want to hear a junky bad.
Right.
Ace Frehley improvised.
Right.
When he's falling off the stage and two-fingered messy shit.
Right.
Missing stuff. I mean, no, that's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
But although having said that, I do want to do something. I mean, I've done, we've all done tons and tons of records, and think, how many songs have you written? How many solos have you played? How many notes have you played over the decades? So just for one fucking song, I want to play really badly on purpose on a record. Just like, here it comes. Oh, George Lynch's solo. Here it comes. Here it comes.
Yeah.
Here it comes. You know what I mean? Just like, but the art of playing badly is like kind of like a thing.
Yeah.
It's hard to do. It's just like,
yes.
You've trained yourself to play so correctly or whatever, and it's like, how do I mess up?
Well, it's funny
I would like to hear Rusty play badly.
Oh, you can do that any day of the week.
No,
just come over to the house.
I can see your dad. Can you do a bad thing, like on purpose?
Well, I don't know, man. I don't even know where to start with that.
It's a thing. It's not that easy.
It's funny because I was going to mention that because, like, as a teacher, when a student's making a mistake, I'll try to recreate that to show him what he's doing, and I can't do it. I'll try to play and make the mistake where he's making it and play it like, and I'll be like, well, I can't really play it like that, but that's not right what you're doing there. You got to do it like this, and
It's a whole other way of thinking about what we do. It's like, I mean, I'm not like a caliber or style that you are, so you're much more precise and whole other level. So for you to play badly is even harder. For me, it's not that far away because I'm always kind of
whatever, George, dude, come on.
But it is a thing. I'm not pretend. This isn't false modesty. I mean, honestly though, it's something I've kind of toyed with. I'm just like like actually, I would, when I'm with the band and I'm recording or we're doing sound check or something, I'll play with that idea and I'll say, hey, just as a joke to get everybody laughing, I'll do a bad solo,
right?
Intentionally bad, sloppy playing. But sometimes I'll stop and go, no, that wasn't good bad.
Right, that's not bad
that
enough.
Was bad. I didn't do it bad enough, or it's not even that it wasn't bad. It just wasn't convincing.
Right.
Because you have to be like an actor and put yourself in that mindset of being uncertain and unsure.
Right.
And sort of nailing it, but not, and falling off a couple of times, but trying to get back in the saddle, and I'm slipped past, out of pitch and for a second, and unsure, nervous vibrato.
Right.
And then really
get that,
because there's a good nervous vibrato, which is Angus Young, has a good energy, and then there's the bad, kind of immature,
that real fast, skinny vibrato that.
Or not even, it doesn't have to be fast. It could just be kind of like, I'm not sure if it's slow or fast. I'm trying different things, but
I think it's when guitar players don't know which note in the scale is the vibrato, and they just start hitting any note and vibratoing it, right? Just like, I'll just vibrate, and I'll ask my students sometimes, why did you pick that note? I don't know. It's like, okay.
You know what? And talking about this now, I'm thinking I'm going to do a whole record of and call it the art of playing badly.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Like art people will probably think I'm a genius, and they'll probably like, oh my God, this guy, this is another level.
Right. Yeah.
Should have like Rusty and I come in with some guest
avant-garde, Yeah.
Come in with what?
You should have Rusty and I come in with some like guest solos and just have us just do terrible shit on there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys can play badly enough, but I'm definitely going to have you come in and bring your lights though.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Got that, man. Yeah.
I'll send you some lights,
awesome, man.
Like, if you never need help with anything like that, I can help you, because I got Rusty set up with his lights and how to kind of.
Zach's the one who got me hooked up with all this stuff.
Legacy guys like me. I mean, I've just been dragged kicking and screaming into this digital world.
That's me too, dude.
That's I'm really proud of myself right now that I've got like the newest iPhone with a little tripod.
Yeah.
Hey.
That's a big move for me. Yeah. And you guys are laughing at me, but that's
no, I'm laughing because that's me.
No,
that's me to the T. Zach has had to help me with all this stuff, because I'll be in here trying to get my lights up, and I'll be cussing and kicking and throwing stuff, and man, I
don't want to do this.
I can't make I just want to play guitar, right?
Yeah,
I don't want to be a light man. I don't want to be a video editor. I don't want to be you know what I mean?
And the thing is, though, it's not that it's wrong, because honestly, we should do that, and we need to do that to grow and learn, and learn new things, and it's part of the new world, and it's the world we live in now. So, you need. It's just that we're resistant because I'm being childish because I don't want to learn something new, because it's hard. It's harder when you're older too, especially. But I know it's the right thing to, but it would piss me off for a second, because guys, constantly just like, oh, well, can you send us a video of you doing that too? I go, wait, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
and can you make the video like this? And it's not good enough quality. I don't know how to tell how to make it better. I'm not a videographer. You want a videographer? Send a videographer.
Over. Yeah.
Yeah, but
trust me.
Or they want a picture. How about when they want a picture, but it's we don't want to pay a photographer to take a picture, but can you send us a high res great picture of you that nobody else used, that we can use exclusively and not pay for?
Yeah.
Okay, let me get right on that. I'm doing building this snakeskin guitar and writing 4 records and getting ready to go on tour and having a home life and a family and.
Understood, man. Totally. Totally.
Get right on that. Let me go buy a bunch of equipment and make that all happen for you for free.
Yeah. And figure out.
I don't sound bitter, do I?
No, man. Hey, I relate to you 110%, man.
Yeah,
I
fuck
do.
these guys.
I'm the same guy, man. And I'm like you. I'm trying to embrace it and trying to get all that stuff happening, because I know it's what everybody's doing now. Zach is working on his album, so.
What?
Yeah, he's working on his first instrumental album.
The whole talking about doing a record is getting so ridiculous now, because it's just like everybody's always doing a record.
Yeah. No,
I'm not saying about your guys' record, but I'm just saying, even when they ask me, I'm just like, oh, tell us about your new album. It's like, oh, like the last time we talked 4 months ago about my new album, and 6 months before that, another new album.
Yeah.
It's just so kind of, I don't know.
I think what I'm going to do, me and Zach had a kind of an interesting idea. It's like the way I kind of think about albums now, for me personally, it's like, for me, it takes so long to put out an album that I think for me is like release a single every couple months. And then at the end of the year, you can compile them all and that's your album, you know?
I had that exact same thought a few years ago, and I was talking to what's his name, John Five. I was at Tone Merchants in Burbank, and John was there. There's a little studio there, guitar centric studio, and he, I guess, was working in there. And I was talking to him and the engineer about that idea, that actual same idea. It's like what you just said. It's like, put out a song a month. You buy the song a month, and we're gonna have a video for each song, and then at the end of the year, we take those 12 songs and we package it and resell it as a CD, and get paid twice and do this whole thing with a bonus track and all this stuff. He turned around and did exactly that. Not
Really?
that it was my proprietary idea, I can't, but
Yeah.
it's just kind of like, wow. And then I remember going back in there and him telling me about it like it was his idea, or no, it was his engineer who was telling me about it. He's like, yeah, man, we're going to do this thing. I go, yeah, that's kind of what I was telling you about like a year and a half ago, but that's cool.
Exactly.
And then I never ended up doing it, and I wondered how it worked out for him, if that actually was a smart way to go, because the downside is you got to be promoting and marketing everything for a whole year versus a regular record album cycle is 30 days now or 45 days or something.
Well, actually, you just promote the single each month, every other month, or whenever the interval is, and then you don't promote the album as an album until all of the singles have been released and you're ready to finally release it. Then you do that whole campaign. I don't know.
Yeah, and you got to know how to do that. How to fulfill that, and I guess it's just you just put it digitally online with CD Baby or something.
Yeah, iTunes, Amazon, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be an independent way to do it. Obviously, not a record label based thing. And then the other idea, which I don't know, we should talk about this publicly because somebody will steal it. But we're gonna do the micro song because everybody has short attention span, right? It's like, how long does a person stay on a web page or anything like that? It's like less than 60 seconds, right? So we're gonna write micro songs. The whole song be like 60 seconds or something like that. You know what I mean? Or something that. What, did we have a time on it? Was it 60 seconds?
No, I mean, it was just more like, instead of doing like 2 verses and 2 choruses and then a solo chorus out, like the 4-minute time frame thing, chunk it down to where you just do one of everything so they get the idea of the whole song and that's it. So it could just literally be a 2-minute song or a minute and a half, but all the riffs, everything's played once. So it'd be kind of like, that's what a rhapsody is, right? Where nothing repeats at all. So they're just small micro rhapsodies all the time.
Yeah. It's just it's a linear movement. Yep. Nothing ever repeats.
Yep.
And there's something about the way we get paid, and I can't remember from which source, because there's a lot of ways to get paid on music. Obviously, there's Harry Fox, there's writers, there's publishers, there's record royalties, there's streaming, sound exchange, who actually played on it, and all these kinds of different things. And I don't remember exactly what it is, but there's some reason not to do that.
Yeah.
Because when something's under 2 minutes,
I see,
it doesn't register and you don't get paid. I can't remember.
Okay.
I have to look into that.
Well, so like on YouTube, they prefer to have 10-minute longer videos because then it's the watch time and then you get paid versus how long somebody's staying on your video and on your website.
I hate that. Right. So you want to so you look up YouTube. It's like, how do I fix my, how do I change my tire? I got to watch this thing for 15 minutes. I just want the 30-second quick thing.
Yes.
But see, that's the thing.
They're not getting paid.
Right.
Exactly. So they have to go, one time I was backpacking in Europe and you're like, I don't care about your backpacking in Europe, dude. Just tell me how to fix this tire. Or like they do that with food all the time. So I'm trying to like cook something and then they're like, oh, my friend and I went on a trip to Spain and we had this experience. And I'm like, I don't care. I just want to know what the ingredients are for this thing so I can make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like cut out all the fat and just give me the,
Yeah, exactly.
Stuff,
but honestly, I mean, look at like TikTok and Instagram. You only get 60 seconds for a video. That's it. Unless you do like the Instagram TV thing, but you get 60 seconds and you're done. So it's like, well, why write a song longer than 60 seconds then? Not all the time, but just like sometimes just to promote like something, because then sometimes I post something and it's like a 3-minute song. I'm like, I don't know which part I want to cut that I like the most. That's why I wrote the whole thing. Like,
Right.
you know.
So you're
So
letting
that's just
commerce dictate your art
Yeah.
hmm
Right.
And then it's like, well, what the hell?
or compromise your art, I guess.
Mhm.
You know,
Right.
maybe.
Because they like YouTube, or not just YouTube, but all of these platforms, they reward quantity, not quality. So, and that's
But
really
maybe
what it goes down to.
the other side of the argument is maybe the limitations that are imposed force you to do a good thing, because like, you know, like R&B hits, Motown stuff, you know, and they had a factory and they had a process, and like everything was like 2.5 minutes, and they had a formula, and that formula is beautiful because those songs are insane, they're
Yeah.
great, you know,
Right.
and stood the test of time,
For sure.
you know.
I mean, there's some Kiss songs that are only, you know, 2 minutes and like 3 seconds, and you're like, that was a kick-ass song, and they even still tried to stretch it as long as they could by doing fades and whatnot, you know.
It's harder to write a shorter song, I think, than a long song.
Yeah, maybe because
Yeah.
you have all these ideas to try to like put together, and you only have so long, and you're like, well, crap.
I don't get, I cannot write a 2.5 minute song to save my life. I mean, I can't figure out how to do it.
Yeah, I don't know that I see. I've had the idea of writing a forward linear song before, but it would have probably been 10 minutes long. You know what I mean? Since nothing's going to repeat. You know what I mean? Really drive each section home. You know.
Yeah, but I mean, you know,
I think that's accurate. I mean, I would probably have a hard time writing something that short too.
great Western popular music does have repetitive things that are universally appealing, right? You know, I mean, hooks and stuff, you know, that people can sing and memorize, memorable. So I don't know. And then on the other hand, we want to be these progressive, just like stream of consciousness, create these, like you said, magnum opus, freaking, you know, rhapsodies. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. Who knows where it's going to go? Well, awesome, George. Man, thank you again for coming on the show, dude.
Yeah, man.
We probably kept you long enough. I'm sure you got a busy day and go back to the weed pulling and stuff. And you know.
Yeah, gonna go visit with some family, so we gotta go on the road here.
Awesome, dude.
Well, you guys be safe, and you know, good luck with your feud and all that. I hope the out in court. You need a lawyer, good lawyer. Got you. You know,
Awesome.
Dewey Cheatham Howe is available.
Yeah, killer, man.
Or what's that? No, I've got a firm from Japan too that I just hired too for doing like stuff over there. Sue me.
Okay, sue me.
Yeah.
God. Nice. That's it for another exciting episode of Guitar Autopsy, kids. Hope you've had a good time and learned something that you didn't know, or something useful. Some advice: don't stand too close to the edge of a volcano. You know, that's good information, I think. You know, could cause some extravagant or unfortunate events.
Another piece of advice is start a band and be famous like Dokken.
Yeah.
So just do that.
Start young, kids, and don't ever give up. And we'll see you next week on Guitar Autopsy.
Yeah, don't forget to click the like, comment, and subscribe, all that stuff. Everybody knows what to do. Just do it and, you know, enjoy yourselves.
And make sure you play Ormsby guitars.
Yeah. Or get a free or not free t-shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. Get a t-shirt, Guitar Autopsy, from our website. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then we'll put your picture online with all of the other Guitar Autopsy t-shirt wearing, what do we call them? Guitar Autopsyists.
The Autopsified.
Yeah, there we go.
You are the Autopsified.
Become a Topsified.
Oh yeah, that's sick.
Guitar Autopsified.
All right, well, until next time, we'll see you guys.
All right. Be good.